Hi, my name is Lohdia Suryadnyani. Today I would like to present literature, critical and creative thinking. Well, critical theory can help us understand literature. When we understand literature, it means that we try to understand the world. We can do this by doing three things like relate to everyday experience and apply to literary work, make short story from poem, for examples, or relate similarities, differences, strengths, and weaknesses of two or more literary work. When we interpret literary work, it means that we are doing literary criticisms. And this literary criticism is the application of critical theory. There are several theories. The first one, psychoanalytic criticism. Well, this is about psychology, and this is part of everyday lives. And when we try to understand the behavior of characters in the literary text, it means that we are trying to understand the behavior of human. The examples of psychoanalytic is sibling repartee, for example, the siblings of Cinderella, inferiority complexes, defense mechanism, and others. Well, I'll give you examples of Frankenstein, yeah, based on the psychological dynamic of the family or the way how Victor treated or felt treated by the family, and also having psychological abandonment because of the new perfect siblings, Elizabeth. As the psychological defense, Victor made monster. So that's the examples. Well, the second theory is Marxist criticisms. This is about socio-economic class, economical system, the structure man's society. It's about someone who has or have not. It's about bourgeois and proletariat, the poor and the rich, the classes, race, yeah, something like that. Next, feminist criticisms. Feminists really examines literature based on the undermine the economic, political, social, and psychological operation of women. And feminists thought that there are two things that we can say that as the social constructionisms of sex, female and male, and gender, feminine and masculine. In traditional gender roles, male cast as someone that strong, intellectual, yeah, while female, someone that weak and emotional. The fairy tale happen nowadays that known by many people. For example, Cinderella story, for example, Rapunzel, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. Those fairy tales are criticized by feminists because the main character in those stories are girls who are weak and cannot fight for the fate and really need for their happiness, need the existence of Prince Charming, who was strong, rich, and handsome. Okay. Next, new criticisms. There are two things of reading actually. The first one is reading with the grain. Reading with the grain means we interpret literary work the way it influence us or invite us to understand it, or the way how the author invite us to see the work. Okay, next, there's biographical historical criticisms when the time when the people, the reader, try to understand the work of the author just by knowing the author's life. For example, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Now, Shelley, someone who lost mother in the early child, and also her father married again, and she didn't have love from the stepmother. And this kind of psychological pain uh, interpreted in the work friends constant. Next, the second one is reading against the grain. Against the grain means we don't interpret literary work based on what the author's conditions or what the authors ask us to understand the work, but it's about the text itself. For example, the linguistic devices like paradox, like irony, ambiguity, tensions, or figurative language like metaphor, like simile, imagery, and others. New criticism. Reader response. Reader response criticism. Well, this one overlaps with the previous theories. Yeah, so there's term like psychological reader response theory, or uh, uh, this is related to psychoanalytic criticisms, and social reader response theory is related to Marxist criticism. Yeah. In reader response criticism, how reader actively responds, react to literary text. Examples: after the reader read, the reader state comment about how they feel about the ideas and also find the relevance in their own lives. For example, as students or as a young boy or others, and can give comments or even advice on how to behave in a particular situation, just like happened in the literary text they read. Next, structuralist criticism. Structure, it's about grammar, yes. Structure is generic structure about the plot, yes. The plot and the setting and the character. And also, is it comedy, is it romance, tragedy, or others? And the structuralist focus on narratives. Semiotic is one of the structuralist criticisms. We know that semiotic is linguistic or non-linguistic object or behavior that symbolically tell us something. It can be object, it can be names, physics, costume, gesture or body language, facial expressions, activity, sounds, images, and others. Yeah, there are three classes of signs. Yeah, the first one is index, and then icon, and then symbols. Index is something that signifies something else. For example, smoke signifies fire. That's the index of fire. Icon, a realistic painting of fire is the icon of fire. And symbol, the word with letter F-I-R-E is the symbol of fire, right? Next, those are the explanation of critical thinking, and now we move to creative thinking in teaching. Yeah, creative thinking is what you do when you are being creative, and creativity is the outcome of this. Okay, I found this beautiful circle, including imaginative, inquisitive, persistent, collaborative disciplines in this book, and I found more complete one. Hello. Yeah, this one is I would like to explain a bit, but you can explore more in this website. Yeah. Okay. Creative thinking in the classroom. Inquisitives. Yeah, this is about question and answer. The students read Cinderella story, for example, and the teacher can give questions, or even the students can make questions to other students, other groups, or the teacher can give the answer first, and the students make questions. And here in this questioning sessions, we can invite one of the students to have hot seat. For example, she perform as the stepmother of Cinderella and sit down in front of the class, and other students make questions to that stepmother. Next, role play. We know that some, for example, unusual questions. For example, how if the glass slippers fit the stepmother? What will the story be? Okay, and the students can answer that. And imaginative, the students create something. Students combine, connect using their situations, play with possibilities, and the students, for example, create mind map, create summary, create other things, formulate theories, and then correct it. Next, in creative thinking, this is other things that is important is disciplines. This is related with monitor and evaluations, and persistence with tough. They are to be different. They need to stick with difficulty and tolerate with uncertainty. And they need to collaborate with other students too. Right. There are 5 journal articles that I would like to share with you. The first one, it's about the implementations of literature-based activities in a teaching model applied in EFL classroom just to develop critical thinking. And this is one of good examples of reader response criticisms, because the student can read and can relate with their personal experience, and they can give advice. And the students also apply to literary work by rewrite the poem, changing it into a short story, and can compare and contrast 2 or more poems having the similarity or differences of those poems. And structuralist criticism also included here. Grammatical structure asked to the students, and 5 conditional sentences are found from the poem and then changed into direct advice using should. So the model is implemented here. Next, the perspective of literary education. The literary education is an autonomous semiotic system. Its image semiotic is there, interpretations, literary criticism is there, and literary advertisement is kind of notice or announcement. Well, the perspective of literary education in the context of transforming the notion of literature, reading, and learning. Well, this is the examples of structuralist criticisms where semiotic is used, but here, as we know that semiotic, that object can tell us something, but in this article, this is not about a piece of literary work, but wider one. It's about literary education that can use multimodal digital technology and adapt to classroom setting. Next one is feminist novels implications for philosophical understanding of the aesthetic race relations. These feminist novels that the writer explore using Marxist criticisms because it's related to race and also finance capital. Next examples is theoretical and methodological approaches to use modern media technology in teaching narratives to achieve a balance between tradition and modernizations. Well, transmedia here is one of the creativity in learning literature. Combining traditional narratives, the storybook, with multiple applications. You can find the examples here. Next. The last one is investigating phases of creative process. The process is investigated, and then also the product, and then the impact of expertise during poetry compositions. Okay, this is the article about the creativity and in the process and producing poetry. Well, from this article, we know that creativity in literature can also the research area of neurologists, not only become the linguist or educator. Okay, that's all about my presentation. Thank you for your attention.